Just play the clip. Play the clip. Resident Evil Afterlife stars Milla Jovovich, Ali Larter, Wentworth Miller, Sean Roberts, and is directed by the returning Paul W.S. Anderson. Guys, I'm going to start off this review by saying I believe Paul W.S. Anderson was trying his best impression of a Zack Snyder film for this installment of the Resident Evil franchise. Is it as good as a Zack Snyder film? No. No, it is not. Guys, I'm not even going to lie to you. Some of this film feels like commercials.
Suave Professionals works as well as salon brands.
But that's not to say there isn't some good in this film. It opens with an action scene that you're actually able to follow. Because it actually goes wide, guys. But, trust me guys, I wanted to follow that butt up with a good thing, but I just can't. This scene is regrettably ruined by bad CGI and noticeable wirework stunts. The wirework isn't quite that terrible, but guys, I can't forgive the CGI. Resident Evil Afterlife was released a year after Avatar. Come on, guys. You do know this movie was filmed with James Cameron's cameras from Avatar, right? Let's get back to the positives. The score by Tom and Andy is very well done, and it actually reminded me of Marco Beltrami and Marilyn Manson's score from the original Resident Evil film. And I cannot go any further without talking about the perfect inclusion of the outsider from A Perfect Circle. Now that gets a medal claw, guys. Glenn McPherson's cinematography at points in this film is gorgeous, like the opening act in Japan and the shoreside scene later in the film. It really helped me get immersed in this post-apocalyptic world. The zombie effects are cool, for the 10 minutes that they're shown in the movie. It might be a little longer than that, guys, but I actually felt like this was the first Resident Evil film to barely include the undead. Very few shots of them are shown, and when they are shown, they're in huge groups, so they were probably mostly CGI. Let's talk about the characters. In my opinion, Resident Evil Afterlife makes up for Extinction's weak characters by actually setting up some cool backstory for its cast. Take a character like Luther West, who in his life before the outbreak was a professional basketball player. Sean Roberts is an okay Wesker for this film, and he surprisingly plays a better version of the character. But he unfortunately sounds like he took acting cues from Scott Adkins from Legend of Hercules. Seal all entrance doors, and I want damage reports. Speaking of damage reports, let's talk about the acting. Sometimes the acting is excellent, preferably the facial expressions of Milla Jovovich, who is probably at her most comfortable in the role of Alice. Or Ali Larter, who is... she's still pretty badass, though. Still hot, but pretty badass. Even Bennett Sinclair, played by Kim Kotias, who is, well, a dick. Other times the acting is strange, like Wentworth Miller's portrayal of Chris Redfield. I don't even know where to start here, guys. I'm actually a fan of Wentworth Miller's old show Prison Break and his performances of Captain Cold on Flash. He brings a lot of that style to his version of Chris, but at other times he's just plain cheesy. Claire, it's me, your brother Chris. Spoilers for you guys that haven't played the Resident Evil game series, Chris is actually Claire Redfield's brother. And they do mention that in Afterlife, but they drop it. They do nothing else with that story. I have to blame Anderson's writing for that one. No development and no closure. But we'll talk about that more in my Resident Evil Retribution review. In a world where these films are better and more faithful to the game series, I would have loved to have seen Gerard Butler play Chris Redfield. But no, we get Wentworth Miller, who in my opinion probably would have played a better Jake Wesker. Can we please talk about this monstrosity? Speaking of bad writing, what in the hell is that? I can see the writing room now. This film is going along great, guys. I mean, it looks great, and we finally have the characters down. But I feel like we need something else. How about we add a huge monster that makes sense in the Resident Evil 5 game, but none in this movie? Ooh, I got an idea, and we can have it appear out of nowhere, dragging a huge weapon. Kind of like that, what is that thing, from the Silent Hill series, Pyramid Head. I like it. But I think it needs something else. Can you believe it actually gets worse? Thankfully, that's later in the series. This monster just doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, he looks cool, and yes, he pays homage to the Resident Evil 5 game, but he literally comes out of nowhere with no explanation. You couldn't even put in a scene where Wesker sets this thing loose? We know he's after Alice. No? So you're going to ignore all logic and turn this into a live-action video game? What the fuck? In the end, guys, I'm gonna have to give Resident Evil Afterlife meh. Maybe borrow it from a friend. It has some fun scenes, but I believe for most people it's gonna be a one-time watch. Alright guys, there it is. That has been my review of Resident Evil Afterlife. What did you think? Let me know down in the comments down below. Make sure you stay tuned for my last Resident Evil Retrospective review before the final chapter comes out in theaters with my review of Resident Evil Retribution. Guys, while you're waiting for that review, don't worry, I'll still be here with my From the Shelf series. My next From the Shelf series review will be There Can Only Be One, Highlander. And it doesn't stop there, guys. You can go and listen to the Metal Claw podcast with me and my boy Tim from the Late Reviews. We have 2 episodes up now. We have the Metallica discography episode, and we also have an episode on core bands. They're both a really good time, so I definitely suggest you guys check those out. Check out my Facebook group, Bluetooth Videos. It's a good time. There's a lot of guys on there with some really kick-ass content. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram because you know I have them. But most importantly, guys, this has been Zack versus the Blu-ray Mountain. Stay metal, my friends.